Councilmember McDowell. And Deputy Mayor, or excuse me, Councilmember Peterson is absent.
I guess we can see. Can anybody hear me through here? Oh, it works if I unmute it through here. Vocal check. Okay, there we go. A little bit of feedback. But it's because we usually expect people out there to be talking to the speakers in here, but the people in here and talking. So Listen to me or listen to me.
Donna, can you hear us?
I think doesn't Mary have to unmute for?
I can hear.
Whatever's going is going right.
I'm not touching anything else.
Okay,
Sharon, can you hear us? Okay, thumbs up. to
Yes,
Sharon.
Sharon can hear you. I'm texting with her.
This thing turned red, so did that one.
Okay, that means they're on.
Yes.
Don't touch anything else.
I'm not touching.
Say something one more time.
So they need. This needs to change color.
yeah, this one might be dead.
Can you still hear us?
Yes, I can still hear you. Is there still feedback in the room?
No.
Ta-da!
Yay.
We've got red mics, so that's a good sign.
Red mics are good.
Is this working?
And let's make sure the microphone that Jay is using is on. I can hear him quite well.
Okay, great. All right. Takes a village.
Did you guys hear the meeting start, or should we restart it?
I did not hear that, and so I would guess that people out in the world didn't hear it either. So I say there's no harm in doing it again.
Right.
As soon as Mark's ready and Joe's ready, we'll do it again.
This is that. That's unmuted. You can hear us.
Yes. And so you don't have
Click
to,
on my hand.
and you don't have to work through it because Jay is working through it.
Perfect. Hey, and the lights.
Yes, they did.
All right.
All right, we'll start this again. The study session, October 10th, 2023 is called to order. How about another roll call, please, Donna?
Okay. Councilmember Bode,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman is attending via Zoom.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Marinesco. Deputy Mayor Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember McDowell,
Present.
and Councilmember Peterson is absent this evening.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Get started on our study session. Community Economic Development Director Jay Hill has information for us about our comprehensive plan update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for being here tonight. This is the official kickoff of our comp plan process with the council. We've already kind of announced to staff that this was happening, but we haven't started kind of the scoping process yet. Really, this is an opportunity to give you guys a little bit more information about what the process is going to look like, how the schedule's working out, and most specifically tonight's scoping comments from you, things that you want to see in the plan, direction that you want us to take with our approach towards the plan, including the process that we're going to take by having we're going to suggest a steering committee and so on. And so I'm going to walk through this tonight. There'll be times where I talk and times where I ask questions, but if you have questions at any point, please just let me know, and I'm happy to jump right in if that helps. So. Oh, yeah, I did that like 3 times, so it's going to jump again. So there are required elements under the Growth Management Act that we have to have in our comprehensive plan, and then there are optional elements that we can add along with it. And so we have 2 optional elements already in our plan: economic development, parks and recreation. The remainder of them we also have in our plan because they are mandatory. Land use, housing, capital facilities, utility strength. There's a new one that just came through with HB 1181 this year, and that's for climate change and resilience. Which also looks at things like hazard planning and having a community that's more resistant and resilient to natural disasters. And so we're not planning on this time at having any additional comp plan elements. We were gonna consider solar aspect and solar potential as part of the climate change and resilience. And just giving homeowners information about can they, where are the best places? You know, buildings have to be oriented in a certain direction, and you have to have certain solar aspect facing you know, directionally on the compass to make sure that it's right for you and so on. So but there's the ability for us to incorporate that into just the resilience element without having to do a whole separate solar energy element. And then there is the option for sub-area plans. And if somebody felt very strongly about this, what we can do is identify areas that we want to see specific types of design standards or specific growth patterns that are separate and unique from the remainder of the community. So, for example, we could have a downtown sub area or a Ingleside sub area or something like that, where you identify a specific area that you want to see additional study, additional level of detail, policies, goals, and objectives. It's basically a mini comp plan within that area.
We kind of have that with the historic district, don't we?
It's a little different. I mean, there are regulations and stuff. This is at the state, you know, the GMA level, where you're looking at more than just the design standards for the structures. You're looking at when we go into sub-area plans, you're looking at the infrastructure, you're looking at policies, you know, that it's essentially like a mini comp plan for that area. And it's very comprehensive. And so I've worked in jurisdictions where, for example, when I was in Redmond, there was a downtown sub-area plan, a Marymore Village sub-area plan, which Marymore was an industrial area that we were looking at turning into a mixed-use district. And then there was Overlake, which was a commercial area that we were looking at turning into a mixed-use district. And so there were 3 sub-areas, and then the rest of the city wasn't under sub-area, it was just under the general plans. And so there is the potential for that. It's a small enough community that I don't know that you need to do that, but if you want to, if you wanted to do something really visionary or transformative for an area, you know, totally taking a blank, you know, former logging property and developing a new town site or something, you know, kind of, you know, village center with shopping and all that kind of stuff. You can do that. And so, you know, there might be some appropriate areas in the community to consider that. And that's, you know, food for thought at this point. I don't have any specific recommendations right now. The only place I would think that, other than intensive level of discussion in already developed areas like downtown, we do have a lot of opportunity with the newly annexed Peacock Ridge, that they're calling Olympic Heights now, that maybe we have a little bit more guidance for what we want the growth in that area to look like. And so that would be an appropriate place for a sub-area. Again, I'm not making a recommendation that we go do that thing, but if the council was interested in doing something like that, that would be a place that would be pretty appropriate. Shelton Hills, for example, back when they came in with their development plan years and years ago, this would have been a good place for a sub-area. Again, to really guide and get down into the weeds on what we want the patterns of growth to look like. So with that, if anybody has any questions about the concept of the sub-area plan, or like ideas about applicability, if you want to pursue those, happy to bring them up later. But
because we're planning jointly with the counties, a similar, this is a similar thing within the county. So thinking about the property on 102 and 101, it's in a UGA. It's been surplus, and determining if the sub-area plan would be appropriate for something like that. It's undeveloped land.
it's
Or would
that's
that
that's
just
a
be
little small
too
for
small?
kind of the sub-area plan, but we could make it a policy in the comp plan that area needs like a small area master plan or something. Is
Yeah.
that you're really looking just at the site there, but
Yeah.
It's large enough. I mean, I think it's about 30 acres total. So
Corridor.
it
Right. Okay.
definitely could consider that. Let me do a little bit more work on 30 acres isn't that small, so.
Well, I'm thinking of legislative priorities and potentially what we can get funding for. Planning dollars could be something that we could do jointly with the county. I think that would be a good demonstration of the cooperative effort as well, you know, and seeing how planning together and then coming up with a plan for a certain particular project site. That would be good.
I have a question. So rural villages. Would that be if there was, someone wanted to do a rural village, somewhere around here. Would that have to do with building types that they put in?
It could, rural villages in this context kind of mean more, like the unincorporated areas like Union or Woodsport or something, where it's a smaller unincorporated village.
Okay.
In a rural.
Okay,
And also we could do a sub-area plan, for the urban growth area of the Shilton GA, so looking at the unincorporated area around it,
For the whole GA.
the whole UGA.
Got
Or breaking in North UGA, South UGA, something like that, there's
Got it.
opportunities there as well. We will, as we get through the process with data collection, setting up policies and things like that, if we think that there's a place where, like, you know what, this should all be grouped into one very specific set of plans, we'll bring that recommendation forward, but
Great.
just want to let you guys know that this was a place where you could say, I really want intensive study and policies in this specific area, and that's an option to us, so. So going into this schedule.
I just wanted to say, we have this great gift of a urban growth area. And I'd like to really look into how can we be the most environmental, the most eco-friendly, how can we even do like an eco village that doesn't have fossil fuels on it, just totally solar, totally electric, almost like, golf carts instead of vehicles, like a whole kind of, you have an HOA. I mean, I'm not talking about like hobbit holes and, barefoot hippies, but, maybe, I mean, but if there could be like an eco village or the highest environmental standards that go with the contours of the land and, just do a lot of study into that and like, make it like a feature of Shelton. Oh, Shelton, you can have a hobbit hole-ish type mini home and have 5 meals a day and, walk around in an organic place where there's no pesticides, so I mean, that's kind of like the dream, like aspirational dream, right? Instead of having Levitons and having, just cookie cutter suburbia everywhere, how can we be like unique to Shelton, right? Like if we love our natural beauty, how can we preserve that in our designs, our environmental designs when we do policing, we can do environmental designs for our housing. That's kind of where I'd like to go with this. If I had druthers, if I had a dream, I still have a dream. That would be a place that we would have patio homes, more eco-friendly and smaller and more of a community feel than suburbia where nobody knows each other next door. So that's kind of, your tree-lined streets and 20 is plenty. That kind of Shelton that, I'd like to see in the future. And then all our parks are connected through our ADA accessible pathways. We really go into this blue zone theory about having healthy lifestyles as part of what we want to do with our town, and have people walking from uptown, coming downtown to go spend money and have brunch and then walking back up or, cartways or, scooters or, accessible pathways to everywhere. Or even focus points where we can do more public transit to everywhere. So that we don't even need a car, like we can just roll out of bed and boom, over there in 20 minutes, not waiting for the 45-minute cycle, So, or if we're healthy enough, we could take a walk and it's accessible and hey, let's take 30 minutes out of our life to take a nice walk and enjoy Shelton. And along the way, frequent our downtown and uptown. So anyway, that's just my goals and visions of what I want Shelton to be in the next 10 or 20 years. If, we're still there. So.
Jay's like.
I have a quick question just about our industrial zones. I mean, I know like there's not a ton of land available in those at this point, but at some point, a lot of that is vacant land that our timber companies are going to want to get rid of. I mean, and it's some of the most prime land in town. It's the waterfront is mainly all industrial zone. I mean, how does that potentially look as we progress and that land does come available to be able to do residential projects in and things beyond the industrial zone?
So this is that opportunity to
Okay.
say, what do we want in the next 10, 20 years? Like, what is the long-term plan for if this, we get the town of our dreams, right? Like,
Gotcha.
you know, so if we envision being a waterfront community, you know, kind of like you're talking about, you know, like condos or shops or whatnot down by the water, or connecting the community to the water, that's a vision that, you know, as we filter this through the process and whatnot, we refine that. Maybe that's one of the sub areas that we do further intensity on, because like we created a whole cloth in that area, so that would require, you know, more intensive study.
It really would do, especially environmental, because we've had, you know, that's an old plant. I mean, it's been wild, wild west. I mean, who knows what we're gonna find as you start digging, as you start testing.
Brownfield and greenfield redevelopment. Putting that into our plans
It's
as areas where we can focus.
It's one of our most amazing parts of town.
Yeah.
And it's just not utilized for anything that we can enjoy.
Adding on to this is things to look at, that is, you know. Again, I'll get a little bit more into like kind of the bookends that we're gonna put around the comprehensive plan, like. We want to look at different development scenarios, and you know, there's going to be like growth, lots of growth, you know, heavy industrial, heavy residential, like that kind of stuff. But one of them is like, what do we do with, you know, how do we reinvent ourselves? You know, I think on the my next slide here, I'll come back to this in a second after I go back to schedule. But you know, really, we were talking about level of effort. Do we want just a simply compliant update, like GMA requires us to do this every 10 years, we're gonna check the boxes and we're gonna, you know, submit our plan to Commerce, be done with it? Or do we want like a complete visionary redrafting, you know, totally new document? How is, you know, reimagining the city of Shelton? Or do we want something somewhere in the middle? And my preference is something somewhere in the middle, right? Just because, you know, we have limited time, we haven't done a lot of like the pre-work necessary to do like a real visionary kind of project, but I think there's an option to still have vision in our project. And the things that you're talking about, I mean, that would be transformative to this town, absolutely. And so.
I know I've been talking about it since I got on council. It's just that we don't really have a clear group vision. We have 6 or 7 unique visions, and not really pulling that together with something like this. I'm excited about this.
We will, so tonight is not setting the plan moving
Understood.
forward. Tonight is just kind of getting the first couple of things that we're gonna scope and talking about, you know, the level of effort and timelines and schedules and asking for some direction on policies moving forward. We'll come back with like really coming up with like the plan, vision, plan, mission, like what are we hoping to get? What are we gonna do with it? How does it work?
Awesome.
And that'll be one more touch that we have with council a couple months ahead in the future as we've gotten through data collection, as we've gotten through steps. So I'll any other questions about this part real quick? So we'll jump into schedule. So we're starting now, it's October, and we have to be done, has to be adopted by the state by June 2025, which sounds like a long time, but it's a lot of work being done in 2 year span, especially since we have to have an environmental impact statement prepared to go along with this. We're looking at some planned action concepts to go along with the EIS as well. So essentially what that does is under SEPA, we say we've already pre-analyzed the impacts of a certain amount of development, certain, you know, making up numbers, 1,000 new residential units and 15,000 new vehicle trips per day and so on and so on. And then somebody can come in and claim coverage on that and say, hey, this was already evaluated, it's already an approved EIS. And we are claiming coverage under this, and then their project advances. And so it's one way that we take the brunt essentially of the SEPA process now. And then, and I think it's more honest this way, because you know, we're telling the community what the impacts are going to be. And then later on, we can say those impacts were already analyzed and the development should move forward because we already agreed this was a good thing. It keeps us from having to reinvent the wheel again later. It causes more work for us up front now, and puts a little bit bigger of a target on it now, but it helps move things a little bit faster later in the development process instead of holding it up for years and years to analyze impacts, which we've already analyzed.
And that only lasts for like 7 years and you have to redo that again.
Yes, and then you can do amendments and addendums, you can do, and as you go through and claim amounts of coverage, you can reanalyze and add more, and there's a long process.
Some of the elements of the EIS or plan action may carry on longer, right? I mean,
Yes,
depending on conditions, site conditions, environmental conditions, what changes, if you're dealing with pocket gophers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do another study, right?
And the EIS doesn't have to cover all of that, like it doesn't have to give coverage against everything, just
Yeah.
the things that we influence. Anyway, in Q4, we're going to start off with steering committee selection, which we'll talk about in a minute, if that's a direction the council wants to go. There's the short version real quick is that there's two ways you can do this. Normally, in a city that has a planning commission might be the one running the effort, or even a larger city, you create a steering committee to free up the planning commission to do their normal work and so on. So much stuff comes just directly here to council that, I mean, you guys would act as the steering body for this conference, and it's just a lot of work. And so it's my recommendation that we create a steering committee with maybe 1 or 2 council members on it, and then invite community members. We'll go into that in a minute. So we start by selecting a steering committee during this final quarter. We're doing data collection, we're doing interviews with people. We're really trying to gather what is the scope of the problem, what are we trying to do and solve this plan. And that's more of like the technical kinds of scoping. That's policymakers, internally and externally. That's our partners. That's staff scoping is super important. Our staff are the ones out there, doing the work in the community, and they're a great opportunity to get ideas for, hey, if we did this, we could do it better. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? So the opportunity for internal scoping starts by Q1 of next year.
At all levels, Jay, right? We're talking about all staff.
Oh, all staff, yeah, I mean,
These are
line staff.
Absolutely, everybody.
Whether you're the city manager or out on streets crew or a part-time volunteer with the Parks Department or something, like we want to hear from the people who are making this happen. Then we take that out to public scoping in Q1 2024, and that is what I affectionately call the roadshow. And I'll have a whole slide about public engagement here, but that's going out to community organizations and presenting. That's lots of public meetings, that's pop-up events. It's full court press to let people know what we're doing and ask them for their opinions and their ideas. And there's a process to take those ideas and we kind of filter them through and see what shakes out being to create the vision for the company. Also in Q1, we do projections and predictions. What is the community? What are we solving for, right? Like how big could our community be in 20 years? The last comp plan thought that we would have doubled our size, and we are about the exact same size as our last comp plan. We have not grown, and that's due to a variety of economic and infrastructure factors and whatnot. But we still have to take our best guess at what that's going to be like moving forward. Q2 and 3, we're going to be doing scenario modeling. So we take the predictions and projections, we take the policy bookends that we've identified, and we take a couple of scenarios and say, okay, if we do this, this is what the community will look like. These are the impacts. These are the impacts. These are the impacts. We do it for a couple of different scenarios. And then we evaluate those scenarios in creating the plan and the environmental impact statement, and then we choose a preferred scenario. This is our community vision. After we've looked at all of these alternatives, this is what we want to see, and then that's what we do the final. Yes.
How old was our current plan? What year did we publish it?
15.
Well,
17.
17, so that.
So you're saying in 2017, we estimated that our population was going to double by 2023.
Approximately.
And the one before that was.
I think just over
It was supposed to be, I think, 17.
17.
Sorry, it's kinda like-
75. It was a medium, we planned on the medium growth, not the low. There's
We
three
planned on the
different-
medium growth index from OFM's
OFM.
population growth.
You got it. And that was agreed upon between the county and the city. And.
Why?
we-
Okay. Is
at
that just a
time-
common?
At that time, we thought that yes, yeah,
Okay.
because you distribute growth throughout the entire county, correct? Jay?
Yes.
And so at that point, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to act like a planner here.
No, it's okay.
So, but I guess I'm trying to understand, just really quick though, so when we roll back to 2017 or whatever, 2015, 14, when we started planning that, we were communicating to the public that we're gonna double in less than 20 years.
Yeah,
Compound before that
107
was the same.
but yeah, yes.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Compound before that one was the same. It was like 20,000.
yeah, essentially.
We lowered it in 17.
Because we saw more growth in Belfair and, you
Okay.
know, and so the distribution was basically the same. or excuse me, the total is basically the same, the distribution happened a little differently.
Hmm.
Anticipated more growth within the city. because
Yeah,
of
I-
Available land and the infrastructure.
The why part is.
Yeah.
Kind of irrelevant, I guess. It's the. Interesting on the prediction.
Hoping.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to
at that
see like
point,
what
the
we
trend,
predict,
at that point,
because
the regional trend in home building was,
Yeah.
right, it was skyrocketing.
in 17,
Well, in 13, 14, 15, you know, kind of moving in that direction. And
yeah,
We had-
because
we-
2020, we weren't even back to pre-pandemic or pre 0809 recession building
in
levels
Shelton,
in Shelton.
Regionally, things have been
Yeah.
exploding. Shelton has not
Yep.
been keeping up. Sad.
and
Interesting.
I mean, we did have some big projects that didn't happen.
Yeah,
We had some big box stores that didn't come.
Yeah.
I mean, those, if those things happened, it's highly possible we would have.
We had 1,000+ homes out in
Ye-
Shelton Hills that never happened.
Yeah, I
We've
mean-
had annexations that took a lot longer to come along. Yeah, we've not kept track with original forecasting predictions. And I mean, they're forecasting predictions. I mean, we can only make the best guess possible. We can say we have zoned, you know,
Oh,
100
yeah.
acres at, 9 units per acre, and we're expecting single family residential densities, and that means we're gonna get, 9 times 2.28 times 1,000, we're gonna get that many people, and it just never shows up.
Yeah.
So we do our best, but we can't control the markets. We can't.
yeah, to me, it's just, it's not so much the why it didn't happen and trying to go back down through it. It's just, why would there ever be a surprise then that we're growing? Or we're moving towards growth, if all of our planning is designed around
You should have led with that.
double the growth, and it's like. If we're actually planning for that, then, but we're not doing anything to support that plan.
Yeah.
This is my long.
I would say that, I mean, based on what's happened in just the last couple of months, applications and infrastructure and things, I think
Yeah,
it could happen.
right, it could, right, so like, yeah, maybe what we did last time, let's kind of grow from that, so, interesting.
So then after we've drafted the plan and the EIS and so on, we work on our implementation strategy. If we just make a plan and put it on a shelf, that doesn't get us where we need to go. We gotta say, like, what are the next steps? What do we actually have to do to make this plan a reality? Do we have to find funding? Do we have to, change our regulations? We have to, so on and so on. And so that implementation strategy gets us, a roadmap forward. It's more than just a vision. It's more than just this. How do we get this? How do we do it? And then around the end of Q1 2025, we have our FEIS finished, and we're moving through council for final adoption and under commerce for adoption. So it's a
What does the D on BEIS?
draft.
And
Yes.
F is final, okay?
So again, scoping level of effort, this is any slide I stopped with like some red text on the top. This was a place where I wanted to stop and kind of get a by consensus opinion of the council as kind of level of effort. Do we just want to check the boxes and get this done? Do we want to completely re-envision the town, or are we looking at kind of a good blend of both within the timeframe and budget that we have to deliver?
Well,
Since I'm not gonna be here for it all the way. It's settled.
I'm with him.
Somewhere in the middle.
well,
One tick above the middle, you know what I mean? Like, basically, yeah, I mean, we gotta be reasonable with our funding of all of this, and it has to be something that we could actually obtain, but I think we should shoot for something.
the aspirational.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
aspirational, yet implementable.
Yeah. We like our logo, right? Like, we like, right, we went through that, and so there's certain pieces of this that we want to keep, right? And certain things we recognize need to change.
and
So,
we can't change it completely. Mark, you grew up here. I grew up here. There's still the people that want
Yeah.
it, still some history left in
Yeah.
this town.
Yeah.
So we really have to combine our history, because once history is gone, it's gone. So we combine our history with new, updated, cool stuff. And that's how we'll need to do it.
The scoping process will help us out with that, right? In the public engagement, they'll tell us how aspirational they really want us to be with this planet, right? When we go out to the community,
Yeah,
that a lot of it will be directed there. It's just how much do you pull on the reins or how much do you push on the gas pedal?
And I'm one of those that want the history left, but I also want us to progress. We're gonna have to really fine balance that.
I'm Councilmember Bode. I think we should be visionary and expansive. And like,
We all agree.
yeah, you know, we agree on a lot of things,
too,
my
Brad.
friend, we do.
Right.
Yeah, and don't forget.
I don't think
that
you had
our-
consensus, I'm
our
sorry.
comp plan
I don't think
dictates
anybody's-
what rates.
You gotta be the responsible ones, Joe,
Like
Joe,
maybe a little bit more than half.
Joe and Eric are the responsible ones. I'm always dreaming, so, you know.
Karen and Deidre are out there.
Sharon didn't have an opportunity to weigh in.
And our comp plan dictates or rates and stuff for the future and our GFCs and all that stuff too. So we don't want to be shooting for 20,000 people. And we're only gonna get 13,000 and then the 13,000 are paying for 20,000 people worth of infrastructure. So we want to be,
Yes.
we want to go somewhere in the middle is where I'm getting at. So we don't want to be building treatment plants that will hold 20,000 people when we're not gonna get them.
We have to be conscious that there's elements of this plan adopted by reference that need to be updated more regularly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's our CIP every year and it's elements of sewer comp plan, water comp plan, and stormwater and parks plan.
And they're all based on this. This starts it.
Yes, you got it, absolutely.
And I just wanted to point out as well, that while we're talking about that level of effort, so there's a budget request I know from the Public Works Department to have an additional 50 or 75,000 to do a transportation element update. So they want to, we're required to have a transportation element. They want to be more robust and really look at like route networks and pedestrian networks and the transportation components that we need to a little bit more level of design than would typically just go into like standard components. So they're kicking in the kitty on that. And we also are going to be receiving an additional 150,000 from Commerce to do some of our climate planning and mitigation work. So we need to our $200,000 comp plan is growing to become a much more broader and expansive document. And then also some of these other, some of these additional funding sources can help offset. So, if we're getting 150,000 to work on the resiliency part that we already thought we were going to start to work on, if we want to be more robustness in that, frees up some space within our consultant contract and our grant to do some other work. So everything goes into the stew and we get more stew, right? So it's an apt.
He's laughing instead of go back to work.
It's good too. Anyway, so that's kind of how, as you hear the numbers going up, that's just because we're finding, additional funding sources and additional. So moving on, so we didn't need like a direct consensus and policy direction, but I'm glad to hear that people are leaning towards, let's have some vision in it, not over the top. We're not a spaceport, we're not whatever, but
Not yet.
Yeah, but we'll look for some visionary opportunities. I mean, I'm digging through the piles of things upstairs. There was a 1986 waterfront action plan that called for more accessibility to the waterfront, but completely ignored the major property owners on the waterfront because they didn't want to walk the boat, and we still have no access to the waterfront. And so, there's a lot of opportunities. We'll have to work with the private property owners. We'll talk to them and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's a community plan, and we'll try to come to the best community consensus.
Well, we really don't have that much waterfront. I mean, even Fairmont has got railroad tracks at the bottom of it, so. The water view, but there's not really any waterfront. The mill is the only waterfront property and the yacht club, and even there, the water goes out. So, so we really don't have any waterfront property.
The city as a polity does not.
Yeah.
The city as a concept, there's tons of water, it just is private. So, if we can encourage the private property owners to maybe re-envision what they're doing with their property or show them the benefits of, there's some buildings, I don't want to use much of the concepts, but you've got
Carbon
derelict
credits.
buildings, let's knock those down and put up something useful and revenue generating. Activate the space, draw people into the community. So we'll have that opportunity to have those discussions, and at the end of the day, we're gonna be weighing lots of different policy options and concepts, and we'll see what shakes out.
Yeah. Some of these uses can coexist, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what
so
I'm saying.
we're not talking
Why not?
about a clean slate necessarily, unless that opportunity presents itself, but let's look at some coexistence.
I like to use Hood River as an example where, if any of you have been down to the waterfront down there,
Yeah.
they've got some really fantastic breweries, they've got coffee shops, they've got stores, they've got the industrial area all coexisting right alongside of waterfront park that is highly utilized, and it's a really vibrant place. And so, maybe we don't need residential condos down there along the waterfront. Maybe there are some I'm saying maybe.
Well, let's figure out how we can do residential, industry and retail.
As compatible as possible. Agreed. So we can scope that, and we can look for concepts and opportunities and outreach to property owners and try to make this a visionary kind of process.
Yeah.
So moving on to the team roles, so there's City of Shelton staff, so myself, planning department manager, communication specialist, a bunch of people that are going to be involved, kind of steering it from internally. You're involving all our staff at all levels, because they all have a part to play in either providing input or reviewing documents or fact checking, truthing things that we hear, and so on and so on. So staff, everyone's doing this to some level. SCJ Alliance was the consultant that we selected. That's the same consultant that the county is using for their plan update as well. And so we have the interlocal agreement that the council approved that will be working together with Mason County. In that ILA, county deferred all planning for the growth area deferred. Agreed that planning in the urban growth area should be the responsibility of Shelton, and we're going to take a stronger lead in that as part of the planning process, and then they'll kind of go along with what we suggested. The city council, you guys provide overall strategy and guidance, eventually are responsible for adopting the plan. Those of you who are still here at the end of this. And advisory committee, that is our suggestion, is that we have this committee that is appointed by the city council, selected to represent the community. And they are the ones that are holding the working meetings and having workshops and things like that. Since you guys are already busy multiple nights per week with your council duties, handing this off to another entity is. Our engagement objectives so far are to really inform the residents of what the plan update is, and planning process and outcomes are expected to be. Give participants more ownership in the outcome of the planning process, as we want people to, we don't want people to think that this plan was cooked up in a dark room somewhere and they just have to do it or something. We want people to have using a lot of food analogy.
Taking the language.
Anyway, we want them to feel like this was something that they at least were aware of and had the opportunity to participate in. We want to be inclusive of a range of perspectives. I will say that, no offense to like the same 15 people that show up to every meeting that I'm ever in, but it's the same 15 people at every meeting I'm ever in, no matter which organization, no matter which entity. And
yeah,
I want to find more people who have ideas, who have concepts, who have passion, and try to bring them in and give them a role, give them a job to do on this project, and get to hear from them, because they represent the vast majority of people that we're not hearing. And those are the people who may have problems with the plan later. I'd rather invite them in and have them participate early than hear from them later. We've already gone down the road, and it's hard to turn back around. I want to reach citizens in unique ways to engage a broader audience. So we're going to try everything from showing up where they are, which is the roadshow, on the Kiwanis and Rotary and whoever to do presentations. That's
and that's where you get the same 15 people, by the way. Check the
still gonna try.
Yeah.
We're gonna do web outreach. We're gonna try pop-up events. We're going to have youth engagement at schools. We're going to, it's really, this is I think the heaviest lift in the entire process is getting people aware and getting their feedback and getting their input to help them guide and develop a plan. We want to provide access for all residents, including disadvantaged groups and those who have not historically participated in the process. It kind of goes back to, there's some very large voices who carry, and some of the people who are less comfortable speaking out for whatever reason, don't participate, we want them to. And that includes, we'll see what we can do about outreach to various ethnic groups and, English not as first language speakers, deaf community, and, we want this to be something that is accessible to people. And then the last is, sorry, not the last, we want to build support, that's general through the engagement, and then the last is if we want to consult with local tribes. We're now required by state law to have tribal consultation, if the tribes are record in the area, so that's our partners with the Spoxons, and we're going to actively engage them and solicit their input.
You talk about going to the different areas, engaging as many people as possible. I can envision a pop-up tent, boom, it's in a neighborhood. You have to have something that will attract them to the tent and see what's going on. And then in a week or two, boom, another pops up in another neighborhood or Walmart or Fred Meyer parking lot or something where people can really get in and find out, people that don't go to meetings would wander over and see what's going on in the tent.
And that's exactly what we're going to try to accomplish. We've, been working with our consultant, next slide here, different kinds of things that we've seen at different events. I mean, I was at Arts Walk in Olympia this weekend, and their consultant for their new urban farm project was there to attend, right? With all the arts vendors and everything like that, soliciting input about their new urban farm project. And that's kind of what we want. The Saturdays farmers markets, Oyster Festival, across the forest, wherever we use in the park, right? Anywhere we've got gathering of people that's city sponsored, at least like large open public event, we want those pop-ups,
Right.
we want that engagement. We need to have a reason to be there, whether that's sharing a message or trying to solicit input or whatnot. But we will have a reason to be there, and we'll target.
Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea.
Something recorded would be nice and easy too, because we all have our own different followings that we can push stuff out to. And it's good information to push out. I mean, something quick gets people at least intrigued where if they want to get deeper, they can make a call, they can go to something quicker,
Yeah.
but like just a short video. Hey, we're looking at doing this. Want more information? Go here.
Some TikToks. right?
Yeah,
like
pretty
short
much.
little 30-second, pay attention, this is what we're working on.
But you'll get eyeballs on it that wouldn't see it otherwise.
Exactly.
We talked about that internally, like I said, the guy working Saturdays in parks, right? They haven't engaged the public, they
Yeah.
engage them on a daily basis on a,
Yeah.
every 5 minutes they're engaging somebody new.
Mm.
We need to arm, and for lack of a better
Yes.
term, these people with those tools to engage the public and at least be able to provide the avenue for somebody to seek that out, provide input. They might not know the intimate details, but
but
they've
it's
got some
engagement.
tools available, exactly.
And
right.
video, you get a 20-30x on video over anything, right?
Yep.
So.
Our consultant has done a format that they like called the storefront studio, where they rent a vacant storefront space and actually set up shop with informational boards and have it staffed with somebody, you can come in and ask questions. And it's not open the entire duration of the project, but it is a way to share some information, along, a Main Street style concept, we would want it somewhere up on Railroad or somewhere first, someplace where people are gonna see it. That usually works well during periods of high occupancy, if there's a parade or the streets closed for the lights or something like that, and like some other kind of opportunity.
The Metro building's available. Right there next to CJ's. That's a nice sized building too.
And then, we've got traditional media as well. Just whether that's the newspaper or news radio stations, utility billing inserts. There's lots of different ways. We have we're going to create a public engagement plan that details that, hey, this is what we use in plans and what we're trying to communicate, what we're trying to communicate back to us. It's not every method is an appropriate method for all kinds of things. So we're gonna, work on this. So this is kind of, I tickled the advisory committee concept here a little bit, but this is kind of where I'm gonna ask you guys for, if you really want to move forward with the advisory committee, if you guys want to be hands-on, if you how many council members, like these kinds of things. So ideally, there should be about 5 to 7 people, and 1 to 2 of those should be council members, depending on how large it is. And then the other ones we can find from our, people who love volunteering for the city. And as I mentioned, I would love to find people who don't, people who have not been involved, people who maybe they have opinions they like to share publicly, but they haven't engaged with the process traditionally. Like we can bring them in now to be part of this.
I agree with the steering committee. I think seven's great. I think it should be 7 and 2 council members. I think the more citizens on the panel, the better.
So you mean 9 total.
I think 9, yeah, I think 7 citizens and then 2 council members. It's a great idea, actually.
Yes, but you get too few, you just create an echo chamber.
Yeah. So,
So 7 plus 2 council members, does that?
I like that, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good mix.
And then there's 2 different kinds of ways to do the committees. One is, we'll call it informal, one's formal. So formal, you're using Robert's rules, you have to have forums to vote, you have to all of that. Informal, it's they gather, they work on the projects. If they don't have a forum, they still work on the projects, keep it moving, so on and so on. And that's also a policy decision for you guys. You want it to be more formal committee or more informal?
Like it
Yeah.
is 4 months.
Informal. Okay.
It's fancy. Gene's gonna be on it. I want it to be formal. But no, just kidding.
Yeah, we could barely do the formal like normally. So. So,
Right.
keep it.
So the plan with this then, I'm hearing that this is kind of. Here.
Councilmember Sherman.
Councilmember Sherman, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think we're right on track. Thank you for checking though.
All right, so the kind of plan moving forward on the advisory committee is that city staff will issue a call for members, we'll reach out to people, we'll spread the word, we'll give you guys the information as well. And so, kind of think about people that you would like to represent the city on this committee, and talk to them or give them our information, my information specifically, and I can talk to them, let them know kind of what the time commitment's gonna be. And there's gonna be a few weekends, a few night meetings, a few, it's some work. I mean, it's a real working group. So people who are willing to make that time commitment between now and basically about March of 2025.
definitely don't want 7 real estate agents.
Oh,
What'd you say?
A real estate agent, great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you
What did
rewind
you
it.
say, Eric?
I said, we don't want 7 real estate agents.
So anyway, we'll create and fly an application, and basically allow people to submit open applications and whatnot, we'll review the application.
The real
make a
is.
recommendation to you folks, hopefully before the end of the year, maybe right after the beginning of the year, depending on how many applications we get, and how long it takes to talk to people and doing stuff, we'll make recommendations. You'll see all of the applications, and so if you're like, no, actually, we don't like having 2 real estate agents in here, we want 1 real estate agent, we want 1 local business owner, whatever, you'll have that opportunity to override, and help us with the competition. And then those appointments will be done, just by motion, you guys establish the committee. So. Does that all sound like a good plan?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we're gonna talk about the fun stuff. Let's start with land use scoping concepts, just if there's any major concepts. I mean, I did hear about the height limit thing. So a couple of things that we've already identified that we need to consider. So not only are there new requirements under state law provide for the missing middle housing, which we already provide, and our new updated PUD regulations that you guys have seen in a couple months are getting us in that direction, but we do need to consider some of that. Our UGA, we want to have more logical boundaries of the UGA. We've drew the line around some areas that are already pretty well developed and probably never going to annex to the city, and so it doesn't necessarily make sense to keep holding that in our UGA. When we could change the boundaries for areas that are growth opportunities for the community. So we've already considered reducing the UGA in the northeast, kind of around the High Lake area, and then expanding it more towards the southeast and the northwest. So kind of out towards the track at prison, and south heading south. So we're seeing increased road pressure down like Dickinson, Arcadia, like that part of town further south, and so that's probably a logical place where some of that growth will occur. So We've also, just through the last year that I've been here, as we were undergoing some changes, some potential changes to the general commercial zone, we realized we really have two types of commercial in this community. We have like the small, local, general commercial along the highway corridors, like on Highway 3 and so on. And then we have regional retail, big box stores, the strip malls, the things that like they're not the exact same kind of business. You know, they're much larger scale, they have much larger parking requirements, they just very different. So we're proposing to create a new regional retail zone, future land use category zone, to try to create some better zoning standards that fit the two instead of trying to fit them both in the same category. Similarly, we're also looking at creating a multi-family zone, a place that actually encourages the growth of apartment buildings, and apartment complexes at a higher density, places where it's appropriate for that to occur. Something that's been in a bunch of planning documents for a very long time is the Goldsboro Water Trail. It's something that the concept would be some kind of like a rafting trail that, you know, during periods of high water, you can connect different points along the river and see our community, you know, kayak or raft or something like that. And so that's part of our kind of multimodal concept for how do we get move people around on more than just cars. Kayaks, canoes, it's a great idea. And also provides, you know, tourism opportunities for people who want to come here and do that. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Snoqualmie River through North Bend on a hot summer day, but you can walk across the river on rafts. I mean, it is perfect. And you can see some of that kind of activity there. So the Simpson Timber Railroad multi-use trail. So the Simpson company gave us their railroad corridor and haven't done anything with it yet, not due to lack of desire, just due to lack of funding. And so hopefully we'll be able to move ahead with that a little faster than the confident, but still put it in, and that anything that's in our comprehensive plan that we adopted in 2025 just makes us that much stronger for grant applications and growth. And you know, if we can knock a couple of these things out before the plan is done, is they're low-hanging fruit, and I'm happy about that. Access to Oakland Bay, that is something that has been in every planning document in the city for 40 years and still hasn't really come to fruition. So that's definitely something that we want to scope and try to figure out how we can accomplish that.
And that's part of the yacht club's plan, correct, is.
Partly they got it.
Is the access down there and the new boat ramp and a little, they're gonna tear down some of those buildings over there, I believe, and.
What about the David Shelton's Pear Orchard? Is there any, I mean, I know that there was gonna be a trail along there and
That's still a possibility, it's still recognized within the trails plan and transportation plan, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're seeing several of the elements that have been at the top of the list to our public participation process with our Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Trails plan, which is water access, trails, nature trails, multimodal trails.
there's still a
Provisioning these.
future of tying David Shelton's Pear Orchard into.
I think that's a natural, yeah, it's a natural pedestrian, yeah, connection from the yacht club, or Shelton Marine, because, to downtown Shelton, absolutely.
And
Lots
there
of
are,
pears over there this year.
there's a lot of pairs, thousands. I've never seen so many.
You don't, you know where that,
Oh, no, I know where it's at. I just haven't looked at how many pairs.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never seen
it's
so
just-
many pairs. It's really, well, a few years ago, we were talking about it wasn't working, the grafting and all that wasn't working very well.
Well, the
Maybe.
grafting happened someplace else. They took grafts off of those trees and then grafted them
Oh.
onto scions, or the scions that go onto the stock, I guess, and so the South Sound. Sorry, Fruit Society, I think Fruit Tree Society, still will do a little bit of that work. So they contact us annually and ask for some of those grafts. Or grafts to go take some grass. Yeah, the trees don't always produce because of the what, because of the groundwater. So found some good conditions this year.
yeah,
And then the last one that we already had scoped was increasing residential density in our downtown.
that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, when you look at some of the buildings that are already down there, you couldn't reasonably build that today with the zoning that we have. Like, for example, the building at the corner of Railroad and First, you know, just that one 9,000 square foot lot has 35 apartments. I mean, that's, you know, that's like 160 units to the acre. Like, we don't have that anywhere in town. And that number, if you went and told that to somebody right now, they would probably be like, oh, that's way too dense, we can't have that, but it's already here, it already
And it
fits.
works.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's studios, there's smaller units, but it's here and it's here now. And so if we can show people, you know, it's not something to be afraid of, it's something that if done well, with good design standards, fits into the community, we can have more people living downtown, patronizing businesses downtown, more vibrancy, more activity.
Yeah, I'll have to have more parking.
And
There's,
there's,
see, if we raise the height, you potentially can do on-site parking now.
Underneath.
Because
Or
right
you
now
don't
you.
parking.
Or you
Or you
don't
don't
need
use
parking
Because everything's
downtown.
located within.
But if we raise heights and we encourage parking, that there's a lot of benefit to
well,
that.
and there's also concepts like parking districts where, you know, a city builds a garage and then people buy in credits to the garage essentially, so they don't have to build 10 small garages, you have one large garage. And, you know, so there's concepts that we can do that.
Parking storage units, you know, anyway.
So, yeah,
So,
encourage like the bakery that's coming on Railroad. You know, there's an apartment above that. You know
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that,
think I knew that.
that building where they just remodeled the
Right,
outside.
right.
I believe that
Really?
is for rent though, or already rented or
Well,
something.
anyway, but things like that where you take a
Build a
building and you
workspace.
build an apartment on the
Mhm.
top of it.
So I had height limits on here as one of the ideas, and I did write down some more of like the eco design kinds of concepts, smaller homes. That's something that missing middle, we have to address, is like cottage homes and duplexes, triplexes, you know, more clustered kinds of developments. Are there other land use and built environment things that you guys already know, like, hey, look at this, wanna talk about it? I heard live work, and that's a great one.
What'd you hear?
Live work,
Live
you know,
work.
like where you've got the apartment and the live work.
Do we have anything in here we're looking at addressing, like maybe more tiny home villages for just, you know, people who want to downsize and have,
Mhm.
you know, live in a community like that?
Like
I
elder
mean, is
villages or,
there areas in town where that might fit? I mean, it's not gonna obviously fit downtown. But, somewhere that'll fit, something like that.
Yeah, and there's a spectrum of those. I mean, there's like the super tiny homes, like the Coyote Village kind of thing. And then there's more of like what they call it cottage housing, where it's your smaller lot homes on like a rather central courtyard kind of concept. And there's actually just a couple of them here in town. I mean, they're very small and they're not large enough. It's here. Yeah.
The ability for like the old school neighborhood convenience stores to come back. And that's similar to your live work spaces. You know, I don't know.
So neighborhood
There's,
commercial.
when you're talking about increasing densities, right? The stuff that's within walking distance, a mom and pop or something, that's something you can own and operate in the neighborhood.
We allow it right now through conditional use, but
Oh, through conditions.
yeah, but nobody takes this up. Like,
Oh, really?
It's interesting because some of the, when I went to school in Salt Lake and lived there for a couple years, like some of the most popular neighborhoods are the ones where it's the little corner nodes, like there's a bakery, a coffee shop, whatever, and it's
Yeah.
all residential.
Yeah.
And those are the highest land values in the city, because that's where the people want to be.
Yeah,
So,
it's usually a pretty awesome. place.
In Tumwater on the Yellow Highway, the ice cream shop, the something cow, I can't remember the name of it. But they located their business deliberately in a neighborhood. So here you have this ice cream shop, there's a dentist shop, dentist
Oh, that's
office,
the Jerry.
but the rest is all. And
Where,
it works out really well.
where it makes sense, right?
exactly, yeah.
Not every
Some
neighborhood.
criteria around it, you know, there should be, you know, on a corner instead of on a, you know, in the middle of the block. and stuff.
Right.
But absolutely, we should look at ways to incentivize that.
Yeah, it's like I said, I didn't know that, I didn't know it was an option, because it's,
Because nobody does it.
yeah.
Any other kinds of things to turn to the hopper already?
I like the small, I like the villages of small tiny homes. Actually, not tiny homes, but smaller homes.
Cottage housing.
Yeah, cottage, yeah.
Would that be on a shared property or would that be they'd own their own land?
It's condominiumized usually, so you have your 1,200 square foot home on a 45,000 square foot parcel with a bunch of other smaller homes and common area maintenance and things like that.
And then with that, I guess my next question on to kind of split, would it have to be stick-built homes, or could it be something like nice newer manufactured? You just set a standard that it can't be a 62
We already got,
manufactured home that you're gonna pull and plop there, but like, I know there's a lot of them in the retirement communities in like the Metro Phoenix area, like Sun City and things where it's leased land by them, but then they can come in and they can either put a park model in there or there can be park models put in there by the owner of the land. And
It's similar to that, yeah, I mean, larger than park model, even, you know, like they're manufactured homes, not mobile homes, right?
understood, yes, okay.
We're 5 years or newer right now.
Cool.
Any other- Okay, move on. So this is just kind of talking about scenario planning, and I'm not asking for everybody to give me all the scenarios right here. I just wanted to kind of, you know, to vet the approach. The idea is that we're going to evaluate in 5 different areas. We're going to evaluate kind of 3 different levers, like what happens when we move some levers. So built environment, we want just kind of the traditional pattern of growth that we've always seen, the green model. You know, like, can we, you know, cluster things together, have more open space, trails, you know, kind of, you know, looking at, you know, more resilient kind of thing, or do we hybridize it? Do we, you know, try to have more like the traditional patterns, traditional construction methods, but we're integrating some of these kinds of concepts and stuff through them. Development alternatives, yeah, concentrated growth, like what if we put it all downtown or a couple of nodes? Then there's dispersed growth. What if we didn't put any of it downtown, but we just let it kind of all go out to the neighborhoods? And then a hybrid model, what if we have some downtown, some in nodes throughout the community? You know, what does that do for impacts? Resilience, these aren't levers, these are just things that we're looking at. Sea level rise, flooding events, so like we already have type flooding events that affect the downtown a little bit. Those are predicted at worse over the next couple of years, and so we just want to, you know, what can we do to protect our community? Wildfire, pretty poignant year for that one. Drought, also poignant year for that one. So you know, we're going to look at different resiliency concepts. What can we do to protect our natural and built environments during these extreme weather events that are becoming more and more frequent? Economic development, we're going to look at different levers, like manufacturing industry. What if we became the powerhouse in the area and people were commuting to us, versus what if we were just services and housing, much more commercial and residential, and then if people are commuting maybe elsewhere, and then balance. And then transportation, last ones are going to be motorized priority, like we're going to focus our infrastructure on just cars. The other one's non-motorized priority, we're going to actually just dedicate most of our efforts to widening bike paths and kind of get away from motorized concepts, or dual networks, which is probably the preferred option. You know, how do we make sure that both are operating efficiently? And really the idea of looking at these different kinds of bookends is just giving us a spectrum of options, so we know, like when we say that dual network really is the best thing for Sheldon, you know, we all like naturally kind of know it right now that that's probably what works best, but this gives us the opportunity to really put some data to them. So are you good with the idea of scenario planning and generally, you know, kind of we'll be very clear with the community, like we're not picking one or the other, we're looking at the impacts of what decisions that kind of move those directions.
Yeah.
So, and then other topics, I think we've kind of covered some stuff already. I already had somebody ask for an ice rink. We had an ice rink where we could have
Bowling alley.
a bowling alley neighborhood. But no, like an ice rink to develop like new local pulpits. And I mean, they're the nearest one until they build Mindville one, it's the nearest ones in town. So if we had,
Shelter Ice Center.
yeah, we could be the place where, you know, the youth hockey leagues are. This could be an economic driver. So when they mentioned that, I was like, man, that's a great idea. Let's add it to the list. You know, it's something we can look at. You know?
Well, it's something that can be used year round. I know people have talked about a splash pad, but that's on during the warm weather. But an ice rink can be used year round.
When I was in Sun Valley, the ice rink that's there, not the one in Sun Valley, the one that's just a few miles south of Sun Valley. That one's used, they use it as expo center. Sometimes they'll take the ice out and, you know, have a farm show or you know, whatever, some kind of community event in there, and then they'll put the ice back in, and it's a great community. So yeah, consider as well. So anyway, if you have ideas about things that you know, man, we should have this thing bowling alley. We don't have to. They're not things that maybe necessarily like you're putting in, you know, like we can fund this or whatnot, but we can say that this is something we want. And when somebody's going out to, you know, look for a loan to open up the bowling alley, look, the community needs this, it's in their plan, you know, so on and so on. So
It's the number one request from every person. Miguel, we're gonna have a bowling alley.
The numbers do not work on
So-
bowling.
Community wants it,
Well,
the community
and-
can't support it. That's
Yeah, work out the numbers, but at least we looked at it,
295,
right? You know, so.
Million plus dollars back. I love a bowling alley, but like, it's gotta go into like what's it in, outdoor outfitters up there? Cause the bowling alley doesn't make money.
No,
You don't make money with the bowling alley.
It's the food and drink.
It's your food, it's your drink,
Well,
it's
the
the
theater
other,
too.
it's
There's-
the theater stuff, it's
the Concessions.
I mean, just, it's a basic bowling alley is over $1 million, and that's not the building. That's.
I think it's more than that today.
50 grand a lane.
I'm talking getting your lanes and stuff in, like, it's,
50 grand a
I've
lane.
looked deep into it, I know more than one person have, it's just such, it's not an economic driver, like, I love bowling.
When was the last new bowling alley constructed in Western Washington?
Well, it was fairly new, it's the one that's in a, not
It's in
Cabela's,
Bass
it's
Pro
Bass
Shops.
Pro Shop,
Yeah.
but it's
But it's
supported by
couple
Bass
lanes,
Pro
right?
Shop. It's like 8 or 10 lanes, it's
Okay.
deep, it's an amazing bowling alley, I bowled there,
In that population center
Yeah.
of South Tacoma.
but it's not what's making the money.
So anyway, so that's the end of the formal presentation and questions, and I think you guys are all diving right in and everything. Do you have anything else you want to add to the conversation before I just kind of wrap up?
I think that we really need to remember the citizens of Shelton when we're doing this plan. Not too big for them to, get their teeth into it, but big enough to where they get excited about progress.
I don't know, I kind of thinking back, you're making me kind of awful now. So, I think to Kathy's point, though, you could peg the needle and keep the historical context. I think you can.
It
And-
certainly can be the driver, right?
It can.
In certain aspects.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of. We've got some talented staff. We've got collaborative effort with the county. Where right now, everybody wants to work together and wants to see things move. So I'm kind of like actually left lane and hammer down kind of thing on
We're
this.
trying to grow and build. We
Yeah.
really are. We
Yeah.
have so much great going on. Just look at what's happening in our downtown. There's a lot to do. It's becoming diverse. I mean, we used to have 8 Chinese restaurants and 8 Mexican restaurants. Now, I mean, like now everything is growing. Stores are coming in. I mean, it's prime for growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with taking a step. Yeah.
It's a little further than that.
Yeah, no, I
Just before the red line.
I guess like if you keep those, like I said, if you kind of keep that thought in mind, because we're actually doing a lot of that now anyways, with just design and everything else, we're keeping in mind. Reutilizing rail stuff and, and
We have our historic districts. It's hard because the majority of our homes were kind of shanty type homes. So like
Yeah.
even preserving a lot of the old homes, it's a challenge because one, you'll never meet new energy code without going really deep on them. And two, they're not, a lot of them aren't really well-built homes, the lower end homes.
Yeah.
But
so in the next, 10 to 15 years, whether it's new construction or complete redevelopment and renovation of an existing home. I mean, you take an old home that housed a couple people and now they added a floor on it and went out the back and now you've got 4 or 6 people living there, right? Interesting.
New construction can have historic elements, and
Absolutely.
architectural features, right, that still harken back to our Shelton's history and may resonate. with the locals.
Sorry.
And there's the opportunity to, identify the areas that are appropriate for redevelopment, areas that are appropriate for preservation, which we've kind of done a little bit of already. And, if you want to take the Redmond approach of things, they, preserved Liberty Street, for example, very well. They kept all the original Undertaker's place is now a Mexican restaurant. I mean, it's a really cool little block. And then the rest of it, is South Lake Union-ish, there's 5, 6-story apartments surrounding that Central Park. And I mean, it's absolutely unrecognizable for what it was 15 years ago. So there's a way to balance keeping the old and getting the new and doing it at a scale that's appropriate. So
Yeah, this might be unpopular, but I think railroad needs to be all either retail or restaurants. No offices, no more offices when they go away and no more storage units. And I think it should be restaurants and retail on the railroad.
Ideally, through the right planning effort and the right process, that will incentivize people because retail is gonna be making money, right? And the storage shed is not, because it's down the road, right? That's the goal, right? Not that we're gonna regulate it out, but that we're gonna push the right plans, the right vision, that's gonna make that happen.
No, but I think it could regulate that,
There-
like on railroad.
Is there any way of, I know this
Okay,
sounds
but that's okay.
horrible, but is there any way of taking part, not having railroad the main thoroughfare through town, but making it a, no, I'm just talking,
It's something that you can explore, but I will just say that communities that have done bypasses like that, they try to direct their traffic around. It's killed the areas that they
Okay.
were trying to.
I like
Yes,
that.
the visioning plan did suggest that railroad and Coda be one-way streets, but that's probably a long ways off.
There's a concept within that plan, but yeah, I don't know if it's.
One-way couplets, speed up traffic. The idea, I mean, believe it or not, you want traffic, you
Yes.
want congestion,
Yes.
you want people to slow down and see your business. You don't want them blasting past and not noticing that there's a, you know, a restaurant there, or that there's a shop there or something. If they're just blasting through one way, they're not gonna see what's going on. Most communities that couplets have gone away from that for that reason. They want to shut things
I
down.
tried this example too, it's similar, so get it. Reduction in parking, which is not always a very attractive thing to talk about, but. If you're talking about wanting to support Main Street businesses, if you force people out of their car to walk. They're more likely to pull money out of their pocket on their way from point A to point B. Versus they're driving there, right? They're not gonna stop at the candy shop because kids want, oh, I want candy, right? Like I did this in Whidbey Island or something like that, and we walk around and it was like, yeah, because I was forced to walk around here, I just spent another $150. Right?
You know, there's opportunity
brilliant.
maybe on side streets or
Yeah,
alleys
same
or
way.
something like that, where we can re-envision those too. And maybe they are just pedestrian corridors, or there's certain portions of them that are pedestrian friendly or parklets or whatever that might be that.
Yeah.
That tie railroad to Coda, right, in a pedestrian friendly manner that we can look at as well.
that's, when I was in Salem last year, they, you know, they had a main street through town. And I don't know how long ago it was, but they blocked a certain amount off. People had to go around, park and walk. So they walked, there was a lot of walking in this area where you couldn't park, but you parked around the corner and on the side street. And it was great. So I said, what do you do when you want to parade? Well, they have these barriers that go down into the ground, and they have to parade, and then they bring them back up when the parade's over.
Bollards or something.
And our alleys are getting cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I walk our alleys a lot, but like, I mean, we've got that new alley that has all the graffiti in it
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and not graffiti, but artwork.
Artwork,
It's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
No, it's awesome.
The one on the Shelton Youth Connect
Yeah.
is really cool.
There was a visioning the committee had
Yes,
on
yes.
artwork in the alleys.
They are a good connector. I like walking this. I don't get stopped by anybody.
Yeah, that's, I guess that's part of the plan, or should be part, like the Dakota alleyway.
Yeah,
The
they're
Dakota
pretty.
the Dakota
Yeah.
Railroad Alley.
I've heard we're working on a little bit more lighting stuff too. And if they were a little better lit, they'd be even nicer.
Not to,
There's a lot of history that went on on Coda Street years
Mhm.
ago that could bring some artists and visionaries in history can bring back.
Activating some
Remember
areas.
Clinton
right?
Bike Shop?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I envisioned somebody painting a mural on them, of him standing outside with his pipe in it, you know, leaning against the wall. Would be great, find somebody that would want to do that.
love it.
If I could buy the building, I'll pay someone to do it.
This is great. See, like, I want the community to have the same like you try.
Yeah.
Like we want to hear from people, you know, we used to have, why don't we anymore? You know, let's get that back. Or, you know, I've seen this great thing in another place. Can we have this here? Like, that's what this plan.
I think,
would be
yeah,
for.
I think we should have a big old fountain right in the middle of the square parking lot,
We should,
you know, like they did, you know, like I think I was talking to Mark a few weeks ago, that Bremerton. By the ferry used to be the ghetto, tattoo shops and all kinds of weird stuff down there. I mean, probably even more sophisticated stuff than that down there. But now it's all, you know, the city built, you know, that area around the ferry. Businesses started changing and now there's like nice restaurants down there and so. you
Yeah.
know,
So it's exciting and it's really sad when I'm talking to people. I grew up here. I love this town. People that haven't been here very long, that's discouraged because they think things should be a certain way. You know, it's exciting to be able to think of future projects that will enhance this city.
Like if we bring back the pears, David Shelton's pears, we can have like pear festival every October and make pear ale. You know, and we can have local shops.
Hey, I'm actually gonna go get some of those pears here. pretty
You know,
soon.
so I'm just saying, like, I mean, there's exciting things. We're so blessed here with our abundance, and how do we turn that abundance into our vision of how we want to live here?
You hear
You got
the
to-
ideas that are coming out of this conversation, right? Just out of the people in this room. And
Yeah.
that's when we engage our community. We're hoping that we get the same type of energy and same type of ideas. And process, so we can bring a really robust plan back to this.
Well, I think this table setup would be perfect for the committee.
Yeah, what about like that kind of hackathon concept as opposed to going out to where people are at, try to host some kind of big event? That's like not that. Yeah, all right, maybe not. But anyway, yeah, hosting some kind of event kind of deal that brings people in for
Yeah.
making it fun, because that's what I remember about like the downtown visioning plan, seeing how that unfolded. You know, they had maps printed and they were out in the big area out there and they had markers and they were drawing on maps and
We
working
walked
in
it,
groups and.
we walked it, right? We walked it downtown.
Biggest
That's
thing is
good
this, we
stuff.
gotta not have the same end result of that. We did an awesome job on it with great things to implement, and I don't think one of them are actually.
Roundabout.
Oh, they did a few.
Roundabout.
The
Okay.
roundabout. Yeah,
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to outplay it. So we
Painted
roundabout.
crosswalks and, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
there
the
was a few.
basketball court.
You're not
was
wrong.
one of them.
You're not wrong with what you're saying.
We
But-
acquired the Simpson Railroad line. We didn't do
Yeah.
anything with it yet.
No, and I get it. I mean, it takes money to do all of those things, and
Yeah,
You got your checkbook on you here.
Yeah, anyway.
Want me to pass?
So-
Yeah, keep that. Did you have anything that you wanted to add? Sorry that we've been talking without you. Okay. Well, that being said, thank you guys so much for your participation tonight, for your energy. Keep the energy moving forward. You're gonna hear me a lot about this over the next couple of years, and you know, I hope I can keep the energy going. And hopefully we end up with a result that's just incredible for the community.
Yeah.
You know, really helps kind of find Shelton's kind of new self and its old self for the next 20 years. That's the goal. So,
Yeah.
I see that we're doing with that now that James has outdoor dining, and I see Scott just got outdoor dining, and I know Smoke and Lowe's did. I think that should be something that we look at, whether we have to shrink the street and make the sidewalks a little bit bigger. You know,
and I'm
for
sorry,
that.
county line.
I said in Bellingham, there's outdoor dining in the entire downtown Bellingham. I mean,
and we had Fairhaven neighborhood is incredible for outdoor dining.
and Bend, Oregon.
and we've got pretty wide streets and we want to slow people down, so, you know.
And I'm sure that we'll have another one too. I'm sure the new pizza
Well-
place will jump on that at some point.
Well, he's already got the spot.
He's got the best, one of the best layouts in town for it, so.
So Smoke and Mo put in their sidewalk, you know, they took part of the site, the parking space. We're talking about, you know, getting people to walk more. Well, that's a great, you know, thing, couple parking spots. And move your dining out a little ways and,
Or real wide enough to take
yeah,
away some. And slow some cars down
Skinny it up a
anyway.
little bit.
There's a possibility.
I mean, even looking at Olympic Highway North, that's a really wide road that could have, I mean, a complete street, 5 lanes with, you know, a little bit more pedestrian amenity with, you know, a little slower speed. And, you know, as we look at resurfacing and finishing that road to bring it up to standard.
You know, it gets me, is we've got that beautiful multi-purpose sidewalk on the left going up the hill, and people are walking on the right in that little 12-inch spot. And I don't get it.
I have one thing, I guess. if
Yep.
we're wrapped up
I'm
here,
done.
if I could.
Thanks, Jay.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
One question, as you know, our 35th district representatives delegation will be here Monday, 10 a.m. We'll have a little meet and greet downstairs in the Civic Center. I wanted to double check on the council's attendance so we can notice that to the general public.
I'm gonna be there. I'll be
okay.
there.
Okay, I'll be there.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to be there as well.
great.
That's Monday the 16th, correct?
Monday the 16th, yeah, okay. Councilmember Sherman.
You're
Oh,
You're muted.
you're muted.
You're still muted.
Still muted.
Okay,
There.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, I have to check my calendar at the store. I put some stuff on there and I don't remember if it's on that day. So I can get back to you tomorrow.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll notice it. We'll meet downstairs in the back rooms, 10 a.m. About half hour, 45 minutes of just understanding, getting the delegation's perspective on the upcoming session, what their goals are. Talking a little bit about what the city's legislative priorities might be, how they feel like that might fit into those goals and what their expectations are. And then staff will take them out on a brief tour around town, show them some of the areas of interest in the community, and it'll stage us for I think a better package, I guess, going to them before session kicks off after the first year. We want to get ahead of that as quickly as we can and make sure they have all the information they need to help support our community. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, does the council have any new items for discussion?
I just want to kind of circle back to what I brought up earlier, and I know it got into notes, but I am definitely actively pushing to make movements towards removing height restrictions sooner than later. So I just want to be clear on that. And the main reason, couple main reasons I'm going to do too is, like I said earlier as well, that we did add a lot of money to build in town. Now we need to make it more viable to build in town. Because our downtown isn't going out, it's got to go up, and it's just that time.
Yeah.
So.
They could, right now, they could go higher up with the hearing examiner or with a variance, can't they?
Within a PUD, I certainly can, but that doesn't always apply downtown. Jake, remind me, is it 45 in the downtown, or is it?
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
30, it's 35 minutes. It's basically 3 stories that you.
It's 35 in commercial, in residential. 35 in CRV, is it?
There's
45
actually
downtown?
some contradictions in a few of
Okay,
those things
well,
too, because like
let's-
industrial says it's unlimited, but then there's a height restriction in a different one. So like there's a little bit of incongruencies with some
I
of
know
it.
commercial's 45.
Okay,
So let's double check that.
Okay.
Because that is something that can be addressed. It can be addressed to a DA or a PUD, but I don't know about it.
and just once again, though, it's about giving that clarity. We've
Yeah.
now given clarity to so many things that have to be done. To come in and think you're gonna be able to do something, then, oh, well, we thought you might be able to do it. I just bought $500,000 worth of lots. And I can't go past 3 stories, like just getting that clarity there.
I can provide you with clarity.
Of what the existing code is, and then we can certainly
Yeah.
get feedback on what,
Awesome,
you believe would be a good direction to go. Yeah.
awesome.
And that's it? No other discussion? All right,